Hi, everybody. It's Brandon Doherty, Delaware Weather Guy, and what I want to do today is I kind of want to, instead of a daily update, I want to kind of go over a potential signal for the end of the month, in early February. Now, going 198 hours out is nearly impossible to tell you exactly what's going to happen, but I kind of want to show you the difference between a model projection and reading the 500 millibar upper air chart and how the two relate to each other, but also how one tells you more of a picture than the other. Okay, so I'm going to take this from the 12Z run this afternoon with GFS, and essentially, if we went to our surface map, shows us a very interesting developing low surface at the in the south, getting moisture from the Gulf, and there is cold air plenty in place up north, far away. Okay, you see all these blue lines indicating the cold air, and you can see kind of like this dipping branch of the northern polar jet about to pick this system up. So on the surface run, you're like, "Yay! That looks like a bomb." And everybody's getting happy on the internet and saying 214, 40 hours out, we're going to have a major snow bomb. Although there's no data to support that, of course. Um, but if we take a look at Old Faithful here, we kind of see the same story, but also some features that don't support what you see on the surface. Okay. Now here's our dipping jet, which is good. That's what we saw on the surface. We have a negative tilted upper level feature. We have a negatively tilted feature here in the Midwest, and we have this moisture coming up from the Gulf. All good looking signs. Here's our developing low. It's developing here, and it's about to make zoom its run. Okay, everybody's getting happy, but the one problem is this feature, this ridge here, even though it's getting out of the way, okay, it's really not allowing this system to really energize. Okay, it's kind of blocking it, and it's creating by now the lows right here along the coast, and inland it's a really potent system. But towards the coast, you've got a huge mix of rain changing back to snow as the feature exits stage upper north right towards Alpha New England. Okay, so again, the picture you see here, although looking interesting and looking like just a pure bomb on the East Coast, is a little different on the 500 millibar chart and might, give a forecaster some doubt as to whether that ridge feature is going to move out fast enough to create more cold air coming into the storm, thus giving, the I-95 corridor a big storm. On the same run, 6 hours later, okay, again, we have the good features. We have the dipping jet. Okay, we have a somewhat negatively tilted upper level feature, but it's not as strong. Okay, it's not as strong. You've got a ridge. You've got some ridges here, which are going to present some problems. Plus, this one is starting further west, which gives you don't want to you don't for 95 corridor bomb, you want the storm to start a little bit, not too much further east, but you want it to start a little further east than what's projected on here. Okay, so again, just a couple features that the surface map is not showing. Okay, now as we go through this, this is not as sharp as the 500 millibar on this projection. Okay, let me go back and kind of give you the same look. Now it's a little messy. Excuse me. Anyway, it's not as sharp. It's not as deep. Okay. So again, you're like, okay, what's going to happen? Okay. Now notice, this looks fairly decent, but you don't have a lot of cold air. Again, you have a ridge. It's blocking, the cold air from really coming into the east. You kind of have a flat, progressive wave here that hasn't really merged yet. And so this is not looking too great if you're a snow lover for the East Coast. Oh, here we go again. For the East Coast. Okay. So now as we go out, it's kind of strung out. That's never a good feature, because usually that means it's too progressive and the storm's already out to sea. Okay, and here you have a dipping jet. Northern jet finally catches up to the southern jet, and that's pretty much the end of that. And on the surface, you have an interesting feature, but then again, that ridge is preventing that cold air from really digging and creating some kind of cold air mass for the storm to even do anything. It kind of just grazes the coast and harmlessly goes off out to sea. Okay. So, what are you to surmise? Well, from the 500 millibar feature, you're to surmise that there's a potential for a deepening East Coast trough, which could lead to an East Coast storm. Okay. But there are some issues with how deep that cold air is going to be and how cold air is going to get. And just per our features, our teleconnections, which I so religiously rely on, our PNA is kind of dipping at that time, which means it's lowering the heights. We want it to be more positive and heightening the heights. But this is a fairly good look. Okay, it's not the best. You have basically no blocking, which is worrisome because this aspect or feature, this look gives us more of a blocking look than this does. This looks like more of a progressive system, which would equate with no blocking. Okay, there's not a lot of blocking, but then again, you don't need a lot of blocking to have a snowstorm. What you need is a little bit of blocking, and around the state there is it's not the greatest indicator here. Now, the worst of these three indicators is our cold air source. Now, look how progressively high that is around the same date. Folks, there's no cold air. So one would beg to differ, looking at the teleconnections and looking at this depiction on the 18Z would look more of a reality than this depiction, which would give us an East Coast bomb. And there's nothing this winter that would suggest we're going to have this look. Nothing. Okay? That's wish forecasting there. So Um, we still have a while to go, and it's going to change. But what I would say is, yes, the possibility exists around Super Bowl weekend, but I'm not a real fan of the look. I'm more of a fan of what the 500 millibar is telling me, and that's this look is more logical looking than this look. Okay, this looks like cold air polar crust is coming into the country, deep ending air mass. You still do have a ridge here, but it takes a while to get out of the way. So there are some factors even with this very good look that would make me doubt this model projection. So the essence of all this is you can't trust the models. You've got to go with what you see here, what you see here, and then kind of blend of two analysis together. And my analysis would be simply 220 hours out that there is some possibility, some storm signal for that time period. That's all I would give you. That's it. Brandon Doherty, Delaware Weather Guy, saying adios.